Hi, everybody. Boy, it's great to be back with you again. I'm just thrilled that you're championing this biblical value of connecting together. That's really what the Engage series is all about. And especially this last weekend, where we saw in Acts chapter 2 how involvement in a community of faith demands active participation in that community. And we used our Lego house to show how critically important it is. If you're going to be a part of this, you have to engage here, as that's the way that God designed it. And we highlighted the four different examples in Acts chapter 2 from the very first believers, that they first and foremost preached the gospel. Secondly, they baptized believers. Thirdly, they pursued spirituality. It was something they were continually devoting themselves to. And then finally, they shared life together and all the different aspects about it. And I highlighted the principle that at Emmanuel Faith, we not only need to be a Bible-believing church, but a Bible-living church. So putting all of this into practice, absolutely critical for us as our community continues to grow to be what God wants us to be. I didn't have time to give you one illustration that I think is a pretty common illustration. You may have seen me do this before. I've told you that in our early years of marriage and when we had kids, the Keating family liked to go camping. Hume Lake was a favorite place of ours, and we did that for many, many years in a tent, and it was a bit rustic. And we continued on until Mrs. Keating decided she didn't like camping anymore. She was not a happy camper during those latter part of the years. Well, one of the things that we learned about in our camping experience was how to make a campfire. And the most common principle of all is that if you want a fire to burn bright, you put the logs together. And especially in a teepee shape here, the fire just rises with the heat and wood just burns up. And that's the way. You throw logs together, they'll burn brightly. It'll burn hot. It'll do what it's supposed to do. But when nighttime came and we were hitting the sack, the way to put out a fire was to separate the logs. And that's what happens in a local church. It's a perfect illustration of it. When we come together in our lives and we connect the way that God intended us to, when we actively engage here, we burn brightly for the Lord. But the moment that we isolate, the moment that we separate from each other, it puts the fire out. And that's what we saw in the book of Acts chapter 2. These believers were together and God gave them favor. With all the people around us, people are hungry for connection. And so I'm thrilled again, as I said in the beginning, that you're championing this biblical value of connecting. You've got some great questions that Scotty put together for you, and I encourage you, go through those questions, but take the time to talk about how these experiences of sharing life, of pursuing spirituality, maybe what your baptism meant to you. That all of these things share together in life, and then let's just see what God does in us and through us as we follow the biblical pattern of the practices of this community. So enough of my talk. Enjoy your time together. Lord willing, we'll be back together again next week. So blessings on you.